everybody. Welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
And I'm Nick Kinzel.
And today, we're just going to be talking about the Pro Invitational Series that's coming up. And we're going to be talking some quarantine talk. But first, let's start off with our Diecast of the week. Nick, let's start us off.
All right, so last time we tried to do Diecast of the week, y'all probably couldn't even see it because my pixelation was so bad, but I moved to a different part of my room tonight. So in honor of the series running Richmond this weekend, I got the Daniel Hemrick 2018 Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff car that he ran his first Cup Series race at Richmond. Don't remember where he finished, but I got this car color chrome, and I got it signed. The signature's really faint. You can't really see it because of the pen that was used, but always one of my favorite cars, especially with the color chrome on it. I miss the Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff cars a lot.
Yeah, it's a cool car, man.
Yeah, I totally forgot Richmond was his first race. That's crazy. I remember it was in 2018. I remember that car. I just remember it was at Richmond. That's really cool.
He ran this in 2018 at Richmond and the Roval. Those are his two Cup races right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember how
we know I remember the Roval. Yeah. All right. So, as you guys can tell, I've got all my Bubba Wallace gear on today. I got my pit crew shirt, his hat, so might as well go with the Bubba Wallace diecast. I decided to go with the 2015 Bubba Wallace Advocare number 6 car he ran for Roush Fenway. As you guys know, him driving for Roush Fenway is where I discovered Bubba and started becoming a fan of his, driving the same number car. And in this case, the same sponsored car is our old favorite Trevor Bayne. Nick and I used to kind of call him the baby 6 back then. And that's where I discovered Bubba. So I don't think I brought that one on the show yet. So I figured that'd be a pretty cool car to bring on. So
yeah, that's interesting with Advocare sponsored a variety of Roush cars. They sponsored Trevor, Bubba, and they also sponsored one of Chris Buescher's cars. Right. Back when he drove, it was a 60, I think. And they
sponsored Ricky Stenhouse as well.
And Austin Dillon at one point.
Austin Dillon, his championship season, he was sponsored by Advocare. Yep. And the next year they went to Trevor. But while they were sponsoring Trevor, they also sponsored Chris Buescher in an Xfinity Series race.
That's right.
It was just super weird.
They were everywhere that year. It's almost like how Bass Pro can be now, where it could be any one of 2 or 3 guys riding with Bass Pro.
Right.
Exactly. All right, Ian, what you got?
All right, so for my diecast of the week, I brought in William Byron's 2017 Indianapolis win. I might as well have picked William Byron since he's been in the spotlight, since he's been winning like every iRacing event, because he is the man. I think he's won like 80% of the races that he has participated in.
That's ridiculous.
So had to bring this out. He beat Paul Menard by a 1/10 of a second at Indy, so that was a fun race to watch.
That was a crazy race.
Wasn't that the first race they ran, those like the tapered spacers to kind of test that out for the first time?
Yeah, that was like probably one of the like most competitive Indy races I've ever seen.
Right. Yeah, that was a good one. 2 quick little notes on that. Number 1, look at you and me both rocking full gear of the drivers' cars we displayed today. That's kind of cool. And yeah, that's okay. We know.
I got a Hemrick.
I say, don't worry. We know you got all the Hemrick gear in the world. Don't worry. And hey, go figure. Ian picks the guy that's dominating iRacing right now, Captain iRacing himself.
Yeah, right.
Gets a penalty for being too good at iRacing. That would piss me off, honestly. It's making it tough to watch because you already know William Byron's going to be at the front of the field. It just makes it hard to watch. And it's like, please, he's like the one that I want to wreck right now. Like, he wrecks out. Hallelujah.
Yeah, please let us see somebody else.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. So as we all know, this weekend we got some crazy news coming out with Kyle Larson using a racial slur on an iRacing event. Well, as we all know, Credit One Bank has dropped out as a sponsor. McDonald's, Clover dropped out, and now Chip Ganassi has taken him out of the team. So, really unfortunate event for the whole NASCAR world right now. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah. I was incredibly disappointed, obviously, in Kyle Larson. There's no place for that kind of talk in our sport. You see it all over social media now, and it's something we've all talked about privately for a sport that's worked really hard to get rid of the stereotype that NASCAR is just all a bunch of racist rednecks. Here we are having a guy who would have probably been the hottest free agent in NASCAR and who was very well positioned to be probably one of the faces of the sport going forward doing something like this. It's completely unacceptable. You can't have it. I'll be honest, though, I was so surprised when I heard this news, because if you would have told me there'd be a NASCAR driver to do something like this, Kyle Larson would have been one of the guys probably at the bottom of my list. We've met Kyle Larson. Yeah. From the times I met him, I thought he was a great guy, really down to earth, really likable. When it happened, it was one of those things where I almost had to let out a laugh a little bit because I didn't know how else to react. It was so far away from what I would think of his character to be. So just really disappointed in what he did. He left and all of his sponsors, all of NASCAR in a really bad spot. I feel really bad for Kyle Larson fans, especially his African-American fans. I know for a fact that he has African-American members on his crew. I feel really bad for them. Just really bad situation. Going to put a black eye on the sport, and I really hate to see it too.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was just like, you're kidding me, right? Because like you said, Kyle Larson's not a guy who I would have suspected to have done something like this. It's really crazy. One word, Kyle Larson wasn't even going to race in that race. He said, I might jump on it if I'm not doing anything with family. He had nothing doing on with his family. He goes on there, and one word, I'm not going to say wrecked his career, but one word really dug himself in a hole, because in a span of 12 hours after that, Kyle Larson just out of NASCAR. And what's crazy is that we didn't mention it, Chevrolet also is suspending their relation with Kyle Larson. So we don't know we saw that World of Outlaws was still going to let him compete, but yeah, because like his dirt teams are also run with the Chevrolet and through Chevrolet, so we don't know what's really going to happen there. But like Mike said, we're trying to get away from this. Like, yeah, NASCAR is could be branded by some people as the racist, redneck, white trash people, and Kyle Larson really didn't do much to help us out there. So I'm extremely disappointed. If this was Kinsel's classroom, Kyle Larson just got expelled from school.
Yeah, it's just really disappointing to see, and it's just another black eye for the sport. Nothing that we need, but so let's kind of switch it up a little bit.
Before we move on, between that, I'm more disgusted in people's comments that I was reading on some of those posts. That's what's got me even more pissed off and more disgusted than what Kyle Larson said. Well, what Kyle Larson said still made me mad, but what made me equally as mad is just the disgusting comments that we saw some people say.
Yeah, I agree. To be clear, there is no room for that word or words like it in our sport, that kind of attitude. I saw a lot of people saying stuff along the lines of like, oh, it's only one time, this and that. You don't know that. And even if it is, one time is one too many. That word has no room in the English language, no room around sports anywhere, especially NASCAR, especially a sport that's trying to, improve its reputation. I agree.
It rolled off the tongue, like it just seemed like kind of like a normal thing for him to say.
Exactly.
So that's what's more disappointing. He said it like it was nothing.
Right. Yeah. And like you were saying, Nick, I think it's going to be one of those things where everything that comes Kyle Larson's way, this is the bed you've made. It's time to lie in it. I'm interested to see if he's going to have an avenue back into the sport. I do believe that people do deserve second chances. He did do something incredibly stupid, and he's got to pay a huge price for it, no doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see if he does get a second chance in the sport down the line.
I will give him credit, though, because he did do a video apology versus the PR crap, oh, I'm really sorry and everything. You could see how hurt and disgusted that even he looked. He knew he messed up. He really got what he deserved, but he can only go up from here. He's hit his lowest of lows. It's time to climb back up.
Yeah.
I just have one question on that front, though, because I agree. I watched the video. I thought the video was a much better way to go about it. But the question is, and Ian, you and I were on the same wavelength. It came out a little too casually of his tongue. To just like you said, it sounds like something that's in his common vernacular that he says all the time. Yeah. But so the question remains to me, is he extremely sorry and shook up because he said it or because he got caught? Which one is it? Yeah.
I think
right. We can go on and on about that, but yeah.
Yeah. So one real quick last thing to add too. I'm really interested, me being a Bubba fan. We haven't heard comments from Bubba on it. I don't know if that's something he's going to want to address. But if he does, we all know Bubba's outspoken. Yeah. I would be very interested to see if he does have comments on the matter. Joey Logano said some things today, and I kind of agreed with him. Not only do you represent your sport, all your sponsors and everything, but you represent your own brand too. And you really took a big old dump. He didn't say that. This is me kind of paraphrasing, but, you took a big old dump on all those brands and everybody else associated with it. So, but
it's just sad to see a driver come from the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program and then come out and do something like this.
Yeah, I agree. That's the kicker too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, yep. At the end of the day, he got what was handed to him, and we're just gonna see how he's gonna respond now, and how NASCAR is gonna respond if he does get back into the sport. I'd be interested to see the reaction the first time he steps back out onto the track.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to the World of Outlaws full time.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I mean, he has said that he wants to, at some point towards the end of his career, run a full World of Outlaws season. Well, that might be his only possibility right now.
I can't see a NASCAR team picking him up right now.
Not for this year. What I could kind of foresee happening with him, I can't see a team picking him up this year. I think he's going to sit out the rest of the 2020 season. He's going to go into 2021 a free agent. And I think by that point, if he's made enough steps to show that, hey, I've changed. This was something I want to get past. I've grown. I've matured. That's not the same Kyle Larson that I am now. Maybe a team and a sponsor might be able to want to take a chance on him. But the big question is going to be, will a sponsor want to associate themselves and attach their image with him? Because again, the only real obligation you have as a driver for a sponsor is to represent that brand well. Yeah. Can you say Kyle Larson will do that in the future? And I don't know.
It's going to be really tough for him because he had two of the biggest sponsors drop him in Credit One Bank and McDonald's. When McDonald's doesn't want to represent you, it's going to be really tough for him.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for him to survive through this.
Yeah. But I just want to say that this is not the way that NASCAR should be represented and branded as. So I just want our viewers to know that we do not agree. We know what Kyle Larson said was bad and everything. Like, this is not how we want NASCAR to be represented.
And NASCAR and Chip Ganassi and all the sponsors, they handled everything perfectly.
Right.
Yeah. Everything.
I agree. Yeah, just to kind of touch on what Nick said, NASCAR should be an all-inclusive sport. When you're starting to have steps like this and have drivers, especially high-profile drivers, that take away from that, there's no room for it in the sport. NASCAR has, in my opinion, done a really good job of making it more friendly to people that aren't your traditional Southern white people that the sport wrongly in a lot of ways gets associated with. We all go to the track a lot. More and more every year, you're seeing a more diverse crowd come to the track, and that's great. You're seeing it at the track, working on the teams now, driving the cars. I think it's great. I think that's the way the sport needs to go, and it's really, really disappointing to see a step like this kind of kick us in the wrong direction.
Especially in 2020. This is not the 1950s. This is not the 1960s, but people's comments that I've been seeing, they still think we live in that time. This is 2020. It's time to grow up here, so yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, but as we now know, there's going to be an interesting opportunity arising once we do get these real race cars fired back up on Sundays, boys, because that 42 ride is open now. So, as we all know, there's an obvious candidate for that job.
Obvious candidate and should be candidate, Ross Chastain. He kind of got screwed out by Chip Ganassi Racing with the whole DC Solar thing. That wasn't any of their fault. It was just DC Solar's fault. This is his time. I think it's time. We're going to see Ross Chastain do his thing in that 42 Chevrolet.
Because the sponsors are staying with Chip Ganassi, McDonald's, Credit One Bank, Clover. So Ross wouldn't want to sponsor. He doesn't need to find any. He's good to go.
Exactly.
Want to pick up Ross Chastain is the real question, because
Right.
he's a really good guy and everything. So
He's
yeah,
very marketable, so I don't see any problems with the sponsors taking him.
Oh, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off, some things that we saw on Twitter, I did at least. Somebody put this long post up. Like, I gotta find it for you guys, and I'll tag you guys in it too. Maybe we could put it up on the Stock Car Spectacle social media if I find it. But it was just talking about the career arc of Ross Chastain if he does indeed get this ride. He started running, most of his career in like back marker cars, getting consistent rides. And then, he starts to get a little bit of notoriety because of how well he does. Then he finally gets the ride with Chip Ganassi. The DC Solar thing falls through. Then he goes the Xfinity Series. Then he gets the ride over with the 6 with Newman being out. And there was one point he had like 12 different owners he drove for in like 3 years or something ridiculous with that. I got to find it to look it all up because I don't remember all of it off the top of my head. But you start looking, it's like, geez, this is like a video game career or something.
Right.
Goddamn roller coaster.
So, yeah, if there's somebody who's deserving, if you want to try to put somewhat of a silver lining on something like this, this could be the career-making opportunity for a young man like Ross Chastain. And it's his time, I think. So, but it also opens up other opportunities too, because if he does run the rest of the year full-time at the Cup level, that opens up his Xfinity ride because he won't be able to do that full-time. So, does Kaulig Racing completely replace him? Do they keep him on a part-time schedule and bring in somebody else? But to my knowledge, too, that will be a fully funded ride, too, right?
It would.
Exactly. Yeah, because that sponsor sticks with
you basically pick your driver then, yeah.
Because at this point, Ross Chastain has run every single Cup Series race this year, so he's going to be eligible for the championship. He'll just have to start with 0 points once he takes over that 42 ride. But with that kind of car, all it takes nowadays, one trip to victory lane is going to put you in the right place. But that would be interesting. That would be interesting to see who takes that 10 ride if Chastain is not able to, because it's not going to run it full time, obviously.
A guy that needs sponsors, that needs an amazing ride up in the upper levels is Brett Moffitt.
His last
There's
name,
a lot of different ways that could fall down.
His last name rhymes with Kane. It's Trevor Bayne. Trevor Bayne taking over that 10 ride. Let's go.
Honestly, it's probably for if it's not Trevor, a driver like Trevor. I mean, we like to talk about him because he's our boy and all, but he isn't the first driver that's lost an opportunity because he didn't have sponsorship. So here's a chance for any of those drivers the last couple of years that maybe we're not even thinking of. Like I said, if that happens, Kaulig can more or less pick their driver.
Honestly, it's not going to be Brett Moffitt, I don't think, because Brett's competing full-time in the trucks for a championship, and he already drives for an Xfinity team, so I don't think that would happen. But, that's like what Mike said, Kaulig could literally pick who they want. You can see a guy like A.J. Allmendinger jump back in that thing. You don't really know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And honestly, that's kind of deserving because A.J. Allmendinger has kicked ass when he's drove for Kaulig, so...
I mean, he's almost won every race he's entered.
Right, it could be a guy like that. It could be like a Landon Castle type that lost a Starcom ride.
Yeah,
it could be a lot of different stuff, and that's the interesting kind of part. And if you're going to try to put somewhat of a positive kind of spin on that, it does open up a lot of opportunities for deserving drivers that may not have gotten these opportunities otherwise. Unfortunate it had to happen this way, but that's the way things break sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so this upcoming weekend, we have the Pro Invitational race at Richmond Speedway, and they have brought the numbers of driver entries down to 26. So drivers that we have entered right now are Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick is making his first run at it. We got Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Dillon, Clint Bowyer, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, DiBenedetto, Joey Logano, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece, John Hunter Nemechek, Bubba, Jimmy Johnson, Garrett Smithley, Timmy Hill, Kligerman, Bowman, and Bell. So, what do you guys think of that one?
There's a very gaping missing hole in that lineup that's deserving. He's basically the godfather of iRacing and the most popular driver in the last 20 years of NASCAR, a young man by the name of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Listen, I understand they're trying to keep it with the Cup Series drivers now, but you really think, NASCAR, that it's a great idea to take Dale Earnhardt Jr. off of your broadcast, did you not see what he did for your ratings when he would qualify well in the real races? You think it's going to help? You think this is smart?
I mean,
this is all for entertainment. How do you not have Dale Earnhardt Jr. in there?
Look at what he did for the IndyCar iRacing series ratings. He jumped that up by like 0.2%. So, yeah, I am really disappointed with the way that they kind of went about this. It's not a thumbs down to iRacing. It's a thumbs down to whoever makes the rules for these Pro Invitational series. This is something that started off as something that was supposed to be just a lot of fun, and now it's just turned to like utter BS because of all these rules and everything. Bubba Wallace losing a sponsorship over a simulated video game. Like, it's just gone really bad really quickly. Bristol was a mess. So I understand why they wanted to limit the field. But if you're not going to let Dale Earnhardt Jr. in, why in the world is Parker Kligerman entered in this race? Because when is the last time Parker Kligerman has run a full-time season in the NASCAR Cup Series? Like, just tell me that. Like, they just want him in there because he's, like, really good at iRacing. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. damn near won at Homestead. He's a pretty good iRacer, too. And that's just the guy you want for ratings. So I don't know what the turnout's going to be for this race on Sunday. I'm really disappointed in it, though. They could have gone about this a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know, like, Clint Boyer's in it either. I mean, he doesn't even take it seriously. He's basically, FS1's clown during the race. I like Clint Boyer, but he is just a clown during these simulator races.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. And then Michael McDowell, who's run all the iRacing races, gets bumped from it too. He doesn't get
He's a full-time driver.
It doesn't make any sense.
Driver. And again, like guys like Garrett Smithley and Timmy Hill, they're phenomenal iRacers, and Parker Kligerman, they're not full-time Cup drivers. And if they are, they're not driving for good rides. I mean, this is a loss for Michael McDowell's sponsors, who probably want to see their car on TV. So yeah, it's just the whole thing frustrates me, and I'm really interested to see how many people tune in thing on Sunday.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts on this. Just based on what we've kind of ran through here between the three of us, what really is the rule then? Is it full-time Cup drivers? Because there's certain guys in the field that don't fit that criteria.
Yeah.
Is it, like what are we doing here? Once again, we're back to one of the biggest critiques NASCAR's had in the last 10 years. What are the rules? Why are we changing them every time we turn around? It seems like every time we get into one of these races now with the Pro Invitational Series, there's different rules, different format. There's something different every time. And again, I understand it's for fun, but let's just leave it alone and let's let it be fun.
They're taking the fun out of it is what they're doing.
Exactly. Honestly, I thought the first couple races where you had like spotters like Josh Williams, TJ Majors ran, guys at iRace, Junior was in there. To me, some of those were the most fun races because those guys are good iRacers too. Exactly. You've got a lot of guys in there now that don't have any iRacing experience. Again, one of my favorites being Brian Blaney. Never started iRacing until all this happened, and he gets on a rig, and now he's racing. I think it's crazy.
That's why I watch the Coca-Cola series, because those guys are the most skilled sim drivers, in the whole world. So they know how to race each other, and they they don't have a joke with it. Like
that's what it should be. They need to get some of these Coca-Cola iRacing series drivers in here because they're a lot more deserving to be in this race than these guys are just so inexperienced. I think that would put on quite the show too. If you get these professionals in here versus the Cup drivers, and how cool would that be for them? Because some of these guys might want to be race car drivers someday, coming from iRacing. So what better way than to iRace with a bunch of Cup guys? I think that would be cool if maybe one or two of them gets to get in the field, and I think it'd be a whole lot better product than what we've been seeing.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Because it just goes back to, once again, one of the things I talked about when we had all the boys on last week with the show is you've got half the field that are serious iRacers that take iRacing seriously. I listened to the Door Bumper Clear podcast, and it was Timmy Hill and Garrett Smithley were both on, and they were talking about they put 20 plus hours each weekend to getting ready for these races. They're on at least 4 hours a day running these tracks, running iRaces, figure out what they, figure out the tracks, figure out how they want to run, all that kind of stuff. Then you've got a third of the field, or maybe more, maybe less. I'm not exactly sure, but we all know there's a handful of drivers out there that are just there to goof around and have fun and, aren't the most serious or talented or experienced iRacers. It makes for a weird duality and dynamic because then you have certain guys that take it seriously and certain guys that don't. So when these guys start coming around these guys, you're going to have problems. Hence what happened with Bubba and Clem Boyer a couple weekends ago. It's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. I because even like Matt DiBenedetto said before the Bristol race, he's like, yeah, I haven't practiced all week. I got like 30 minutes to an hour in a practice. Let's go do this thing. Like there's those guys who, like you said, hours amongst hours a week, like Landon Castle putting in 800 laps a week, and it's that compared to what other these guys doing. Yeah, it's just a recipe and a mix for not so great race.
It just makes me feel like I could enter these races and do better than some of these actual race car drivers.
I mean, what, you only spent the last 80 hours on iRacing this week, right?
Well, I was going to say, those guys that, the second half of the field, I say you add up all their prep time and combine it, it doesn't hit Ian's seat time this week.
Yeah, that may be true.
Well, how many hours, like 2 days ago, you were on it for like, what, 14 hours? Or what did you do? That was just crazy.
Well, I was trying to move up to C class. I think that's when I was just like video chatting with you, Nick.
Oh, God.
And I was on from probably 10 a.m. till about 4 a.m. So, yeah. Not consistently racing. Like, I would take little breaks in between. But, yeah, I was trying to move my way up.
That's crazy. That's the way to do it, man. Dude, you were literally going to come out of this quarantine looking like Matt DiBenedetto. Your arms are going to be freaking ripped.
Yep. He put 18-hour shift in. Jesus Christ.
No wonder your freaking steering wheel's not giving you any feedback anymore. You ran that thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The good thing
we're gonna see. Yeah, we're gonna see Ian after the quarantine's all over. The first race, we're all gonna get together. He's gonna have Popeye's forearms and like a 12-inch softball bicep from manhandling these wheels for 18 hours a day.
Yeah, right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, it's an addiction. I was telling my dad yesterday, like, you know what? I'm probably gonna stay off today. My arms are really hurting. 20 minutes later, I'm back down in the basement.
It's like the gym. He needs rest days built in now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
My God.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man.
All right. So let's talk about this a little bit. So Dr. Fauci was saying that they might resume sports with no fans within possibly the next month. So what do you guys think about that?
Give me my racing back. Just do it. It's going to really suck not being there for a lot of those that we were supposed to be there for, but I can't deal with this anymore, man. I'm going crazy here. Give me some freaking cars on the racetrack. You can tell me you can get school buses racing on the quarter-mile track at Charlotte, and I'll be like, let's go. Yeah, honestly, though, do what they have to do to get these things back going. If we have to miss it, we have to watch on TV. We have to watch on TV. We can just all get together, have a good time there. I just want racing back on my TV. Real racing back on my TV.
Right. Dude, I couldn't agree more. I would watch Eastern European short track racing if it was on right now. So no, well, listen. Here's the thing: when they pan through the crowd and all that, it's going to be obvious that the stadium's empty. But NASCAR has one thing going for it that the other sports don't. Like, obviously, you guys know I'm a pro wrestling fan. WrestleMania just happened with no fans, and it's the weirdest, eeriest thing. Yeah. You watch Major League Baseball games and stuff like that. Like, there was a game in, 2014 or something like that? The White Sox played the Orioles right when the riots were going on in Baltimore. They played behind closed doors.
Weird game.
Yeah, it's just really weird to hear that. But with NASCAR, I feel like a lot of it you won't notice as much because, A, the sound of the cars drowns out any crowd noise. Unless it's Dale Jr. or Chase Elliott going for the win, you're not going to hear the crowd anyway. So really the only time it's going to be weird is when they kind of pan to like the stands, which if they're smart, you try to keep the cameras away from that and not make that an advertised point. So I think that it'll have a much better chance of looking closely authentic to what we would normally see on Sundays anyway, as opposed to most other sports. I mean,
just look at like Fridays for practices and everything. The stands are empty and everything, so it's really not going to be that different, like you said. And going back to that Baltimore White Sox game, they're used to it anyway. Nobody goes to Orioles or White Sox games. So but yeah, they just need to do what they need to do. It's going to be really weird once they get back going because there's not going to be Friday, Saturday, Sundays at the tracks. It's going to be show up. I don't even know if they're going to qualify it. We're going to show up, maybe get like an hour practice, and then we're going green. We're racing these bad boys because we're trying to get up and get going as fast as we can. If they
it's going to really suck if we miss, Martinsville and Chicagoland and Indy.
Yeah. I'm already going to the fact I'm accepting it at this point. There's probably a 90% chance we're not going to Chicagoland this year based off that's just what I'm getting ready for here.
Well, nothing we can do about it.
Hey, another good way to think about it though, as much as that's going to suck, it does give us opportunities to use that money to maybe attend some races we might not normally go to because we go to Chicagoland and some other races every year. So there might be some other opportunities for us there.
I'm saying this right now. If people are back in the stands in September, we all bought NASCAR Heat 4, $50 off a ticket, Bristol night race, playoff race, book it. I'm there.
Yes. I'm in. Yes. I am in. I need no convincing on that. So
that'd be insane. I think that's plan B right there. That's plan B right there.
But
if I go to Bristol, you guys this year, oh my god, that's gonna be so much better than what I did last year.
I'm gonna be 21 years old when we go to. Woohoo!
Uh-oh. We're in trouble. But hey, just to touch back though, if they do go back racing, and like we're saying, it's more or less going to be a quote unquote like show and go, that puts a lot of onus on the crew chiefs and the teams to really set these cars up well and do as much prep as they can, getting ready for the weekends, because you're only going to get so much time to test and see what your car is doing to make adjustments then. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on these teams, these crew chiefs to get the setups right because you don't have that time. And I think that's going to be a really interesting key. And it's going to be a really interesting could change the whole season around from what we might have seen otherwise.
I mean, I'm sure they'll bring in some kind of happy hour, practice, like, 5 hours before the race or something. If they're really, with a tight schedule where they can only come in on one day, I'm sure they'll still have some kind of practice.
I think what they're going to do, like they were going to do at Atlanta for the trucks, no practice. They were just going to qualify them 3 hours before the race, and that is your practice right there. Whoa. So that is going to be really interesting to see how they do. And that just brings up another thing, like the Xfinity and the Truck Series. Are they going to be done for the season? If it takes this long, how are they going to be able to manage in those races as well?
That's going to kill some teams, man.
That's the other part of it. Again, this is a business. All these teams, especially these lower tier teams, and I would venture to guess outside of your big 3, 4, 5 teams at the cup level, need these races and everything to get going. You get like these Xfinity teams and the truck teams, like how many of them are going to make it to 2021 financially if we don't race this year?
Well, I mean, look at the XFL. They just had to file for bankruptcy, and they basically had to fire all their employees because they basically depended on this season to, pay for next season to keep going, and now they can't.
It's really going to take a big toll on the truck teams the most, I think. There's a lot of truck teams down there that are really underfunded teams. It's going to be really disappointing if some of those guys have to close their shops because of something like this, but it's a business. There's really nothing we can do at this point for it.
Right.
It's just going to be – I think it's just going to be way too tough to try and get all 3 series to get back to racing. They're going to probably just have to squash it, and we're just going to see the Cup boys go at it. Yeah. But I'm going to cry about because I don't get to see Hemrick race for the rest of the season.
Then I can't see Noah.
But if I get to see racing on Sundays, it is what it is. Give me my boys back on the track.
Yeah, that changes a lot though, because what does that do with drivers' contracts? Does it freeze contracts at the Xfinity level?
Jimmy Johnson's got to be the biggest one. Is he going to retire?
Right. Right.
Something after this, but yeah.
Of course, this happened with Jimmy Johnson's last season in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we were going to be poised to have the greatest rookie of the year battle, and God knows how long. And now we're not even going to really see that pan out.
Yeah.
If we don't go back racing, but I'm pretty sure we are pretty soon. But
Yeah,
it's going to be really weird to see. But I'm just ready for cars back on the track.
Exactly, man. I think we all are.
absolutely, man. Just something to keep your mind off stuff and just kind of get somewhat of a normalcy back.
Today, I got to drive my car for the first time in like 4 weeks, and I was just like, oh my God, I want to go. I'm going fast again.
Okay, Nicky Bobby.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy out here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm ready to get back to racing. Like I said, I think we need it. All the economy's all needed, obviously. I don't think it's any secret as to what's going on to not just NASCAR, but all the businesses out there. I don't know how sponsors are going to make it in a lot of respects. So I think the sooner with some of that stuff we can get back to a little normality, it's going to be the better for everyone. Obviously, I know we're in a tough situation with the coronavirus stuff. So how do we all make that work? A lot of people much smarter than all of us make those decisions, fortunately. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But something's going to have to give here soon, because you got a lot of small businesses, a lot of small sports and establishments and things like that just aren't going to make it.
Hopefully social distancing works and, the curve goes down and, in a few months, that might be too early. We can all go out and do something, but I just can't wait for everything to go back to normal, boys.
This would be the year that I'm supposed to be turning 21, that I might not even be able to go out for my birthday.
Yeah, right?
Gonna go crazy.
He's going to be turning 21 and not even get to go to a racetrack. That'd be some BS.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully our first race back is Bristol Night Race in September. Wink, wink. And then I will get to be 21 at a racetrack.
Hell yeah.
There we go, man.
But I think that's a good point for us to end. What do you think, boys? Got anything else to add?
Yeah, I do want to add really quickly, guys. Make sure you check out our friends over at the For the Lead podcast. They were nice enough to join us this last week. Check out their newest edition. They talk about, as you guys may know, we have a big group chat going. Unfortunately, Ian isn't able to be in it because he doesn't have an iPhone. But Nick, myself, Dakota Rutledge, Dalton Good, Timothy Martin, and Connor Bunn are all in it. We talk on there all the time. They're going to be kind enough to have us on their show next week. So please make sure you check that out. Support them. Check out our buddy Dakota Rutledge. He's at NASCAR Baby. He's awesome. He's got a lot of really good content both on Twitter and YouTube. Our good buddy Dalton Good. He's at Depressed Dalton Good on Twitter. He's an interesting follow and a lot of fun to play along with.
If you're looking to start a Twitter war with somebody, Dalton Good's your man.
Well,
Dalton,
if you're a Dale Jr. fan, I would not recommend following him because he's just going to talk trash to you.
But no, if you're a Kyle Busch fan or you like to mess with Kyle Busch fans, follow our buddy Dalton Good.
Yeah. But if that show goes anything like ours did with them last night, that's just going to be
a blast.
It's going to be a blast. I'm looking forward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all kidding aside, they're great guys. All those guys do a great job with all their different platforms. For the Lead is one of my favorite podcasts besides ours. Dakota's stuff is awesome. Make sure you guys check them all out. Can't wait to join them this week. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. All right, boys. So for the Stock Car Spectacle, I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
Nick Kinsel.
Thanks for watching the Stock Car Spectacle, everyone. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, follow our friends at Ashland Heddens Racing, and follow our friends at For the Lead Podcast. So thanks for watching, guys.